Welcome back. All right, continuing on with my favorite songs list. We're going from 1250 to 1201 today. I don't think a single Rammstein song has shown up yet. Not surprised. Rammstein is going to dominate as we get higher up in this countdown. A lot more of the 80s and 90s songs on the board. So we start with 1250, and from, I believe it was 1983, that Original Sin by INXS came out, which is about 4 years before Kick, which was the big one for them. And really, they blew up around North America. But Original Sin, fun little song, catchy tune, and one of their first kind of big hits in North America. So INXS number 1250. 1249, the band's name, it's right on the board, Revolting Cocks, which I assume is something to do with Ugly Roosters, right? Do You Think I'm Sexy? Their cover of Do You Think I'm Sexy? Hilarious. And the video is different. It's a very, very different song when they're singing it. 1249 for that one. 1248, Billy Idol, Shock to the System. I mentioned before, Billy Idol. On a list that I was watching on, artists that ruined themselves, and Shock to the System, which is about the LA riots back in the late 80s, and I thought it was a fun song. I didn't mind the album either. It was very different. It was a very different album than his previous albums, and when bands do something very different, and I'm sure we will get into that again as we get further into the countdown, it can be dangerous. Like, people will complain that this band sounds the same. Their songs always sound the same, and then they do something different. People go, that just sounds terrible. Now they're desperate. Number 1247, Papa Roach, Between Angels and Insects. There are some very good songs from Papa Roach. That is one of them. I don't know how many songs of theirs are actually on my countdown. There are songs of theirs that I like, but I don't actively listen to. So Between Angels and Insects is one of those that did come to mind that I really like, but there are others I like of theirs as well. 1246, Green Day, Wake Me Up When September Ends. An emotional song. The video for it I always thought was kind of odd. I didn't think that the subject matter matched the video very well, but it is another good Green Day song, and there are some very good Green Day songs that remain to be listed on this board via the countdown, but 1246 for Wake Me Up When September Ends. Number 1245 is Lady Gaga, a recent song of hers, Abracadabra, it's a catchy tune. It's stuck in my head now. Might be stuck in yours if you know it. But yeah, Lady Gaga's done some really good songs. She is going to be featured on this list a number of times. I want to say like 6 or 7 times that you'll see Lady Gaga on the list. Sorry, had to pause for a sneeze there. But yeah, Lady Gaga, Abracadabra, number 1245. 1244 is David Essex. His one hit, as far as I know, Rock On, which was then covered by Michael Damiani. Michael Damiani, right? Anyways, from Young and the Restless. So, Danny from Young and the Restless did a cover of it. I think it went to number 1, too. It was weird to see a guy I'd watched on Young and the Restless for years all of a sudden being on the chart and all that. So, yeah, Rock On by David Essex. Number 1243, The Beach Boys, California Girls, meaning that David Lee Roth's California Girls is not on the list because I was never a David Lee Roth fan. In fact, that was a tough summer when that album came out. Crazy from the Heat, I think, was the one that had California Girls on it, and not a fan. Also, related, California Girls by Katy Perry, not on my list. Not at all. 1242, The Moody Blues, I Know You're Out There Somewhere. One of these songs that is about hope and finding love and love being unrequited and all that. For some reason, as a lonely teenager, it spoke to me. The Moody Blues, a band that I really gravitated to when I was a teenager. You always go through that phase, at least most people, I think, go through that phase of listening to music that was around before you were listening to it. And, the Moody Blues were a band that I really gravitated to and got into, like, all their older stuff, too. So don't be surprised when they're on the chart a few more times than this. Number 1241, Biff Naked. So Canadian content here. Moment of Weakness which is a good, catchy little song from Biff Naked, who was like the hottest thing on the charts for a while. And I don't know, it just sort of stopped. But Moment of Weakness is on the list. I don't think Spaceman is. I don't think I ended up putting Spaceman on the list, but that would be the one people know the most from Biff Naked. Number 1240 is Rob Zombie's Feel So Numb. Very catchy song. Gets stuck in your head if you've listened to it, which is a sign of a good song when it gets stuck in your head and you don't get angry that it's stuck in your head. But yeah, Feel So Numb, Rob Zombie. And yeah, I'm trying to think of how many Rob Zombie songs there are on the list. I'm going to say 3 or 4. So probably not as many as Rob Zombie fans would want, but still in there. Number 1239, Peter Gabriel, Games Without Frontiers. So it would have been interesting if Peter Gabriel had stayed in Genesis, but we still got some pretty good Peter Gabriel music as it was. And Games Without Frontiers, absolutely amazing song. And the lyrics are excellent. I remember when Sledgehammer came out and all that Peter Gabriel, his stuff became really big, and I went back and started listening to his older stuff, and I realized, like with Games Without Frontiers, I liked his older stuff better. 1238, I Don't Want to Miss a Thing by Aerosmith. Armageddon made us sick of this song, didn't it? Because Armageddon was a big movie, and then that video was on every 3 minutes on every video channel, and it was on the radio constantly because everybody was dedicating it to their significant other. It's cheesy. It's a very cheesy song, but it's also a nice song. It kind of gives you that warm and fuzzy feeling. And I'll admit it, the movie Armageddon, it's cheesy. It doesn't make a lot of sense in parts, but it's a good watch. It's a good watch. It's a movie I've watched many times over, and if it started right now on my TV, I'd be like, I'll watch it. All right. Number 1237, so I mentioned the band Berlin when I talked about Take My Breath Away. I put Trash by Berlin ahead of Take My Breath Away. Trash is a really cool song. Berlin has a bunch of cool songs, though, so yeah. I've always had an affinity for bands out of Germany. Always had an affinity for bands out of Germany. 1236, more Canadian content, the band Moist, and the song is Push. I have not seen Moist live. I'm kind of surprised I haven't, considering the amount of concerts I've gone to. I think they have gone on tour not too long ago. But, yeah, Moist had a couple of really good albums there. I did have their debut album, which had Push on it. I don't remember if I had their second album or not, but I know there were songs on that second album I liked. Number 1235, Creedence Clearwater Revival, Fortunate Son. Great song, and you know it. It's one of those songs you know from the opening chord, and it ends up 1235 because I have a ridiculous amount of songs ahead of it. It's just how it ends up working out. Doesn't mean I don't sing along with it when it comes on. Doesn't mean that, I don't like Creedence Clearwater Revival. Just means there are an insane amount of songs on this list. And then there was a band I was listening to last night I haven't heard of before. And I was like, hey, these guys are pretty good. So who knows? This countdown might have been 1,500 songs if I'd waited another month to throw it together. Number 1234 is Cyndi Lauper's Change of Heart. I remember when this song came out because it was the first single. I want to say it was the first single off of, I think it was the album True Colors. Was it the first single? I know that was the album of hers that I got. And Change of Heart is why I wanted that album. So I never had the album with Girls Just Want to Have Fun. Never had that. But I did have this one. This one I was like, yeah, I have to have that. And there are other songs of hers that you're going to see as this list goes along. Cyndi Lauper was fantastic. Number 1233 still is. She's actually still, she's on her last tour now. 1233, Addicted to Love by Robert Palmer. Very popular song. Very popular because of its video. Using sex appeal to sell music works. And it's always worked. So Robert Palmer back in the 80s was an example of that. That he did that with Addicted to Love. I Didn't Mean to Turn You On. He did it as well with Simply Irresistible. Like, essentially, it's almost the same video 3 times. But it worked. it got people to watch. So it worked for him. Number 1232, Black Eyed Peas are on the list here again. Hey Mama. So I did mention that, some of their songs aren't necessarily the most cerebral, but Black Eyed Peas knew how to write a catchy tune, and they knew how to get people to dance. So bonus points for them there. Hey Mama was another example of that. They were the hottest band for a while there, and they definitely took advantage of that. Had a bunch of songs that did very, very well on the charts. Number 1231, Pearl Jam. Another song from Pearl Jam on the list today. Alive, making the list. This is of course from the album 10 as well. Pearl Jam I liked a lot when they first came out, and then I like them less now than I did. But Pearl Jam's a band that if my wife liked them, she doesn't, but if she did and she wanted to go see them in concert, I would absolutely go. That is a concert I would absolutely go to. Everything I've heard about Pearl Jam, they're really fun to see live. And in this song's case, they're alive. So there you go. Good for them. Number 1230, Finger 11, the first of two Finger 11s in this portion of the countdown, which means more Canadian content. Stay and Drown. So from looking at their playlists, or set lists, I should say, Stay and Drown, it does not appear they still do that one at their concerts. We'll see if they do that when I go see them or not. But Stay and Drown, I don't want to say fun song because just the title, Stay and Drown, not a fun song, but catchy, yep. And was from the first album after they became Finger 11, I do believe. Started out as Rainbow Butt Monkeys. Number 1229, Nelly Furtado's I'm Like a Bird. I've seen recent video footage of Nelly Furtado. Yes, she is bigger than she was back 25 years ago. That's pretty common. Still a beautiful woman, still a very good singer, still Canadian. So I can find no flaw. But yeah, I'm Like a Bird was a song I didn't really like when it came out because it was played too much. Then I heard other songs of hers. I liked those, and then I went back and realized I like the song I'm Like a Bird. It was just way overplayed when it came out. Number 1228, Pink Floyd, What Do You Want From Me? So this is from The Division Bell. And The Division Bell might be my favorite album from Pink Floyd. It's between that and Momentary Lapse of Reason. I think Division Bell is a better experience. Like each song kind of flows into the next, and it is kind of this one through line from the first song to the last. And Momentary Lapse of Reason doesn't really have that. Each song is different. There are a couple of songs that fade from one into the next, but What Do You Want From Me is a good setup for the rest of the album. Number 1227, Kenny Loggins, Danger Zone. So, Archer fans, anybody? Kenny Loggins, whose career was, I think, brought back by Archer, and now he's a DJ, I believe, on Sirius XM radio. But yeah, Danger Zone it's kind of become a punchline at this point, but it's still a good song. In fact, I'm surprised that's not one of the sing-along options at hockey games, because every guy in the building, right into the danger zone. And I mean, you could have fun with that, but why bother when you could just play Sweet Caroline for the 1,689,782nd time? A song which is not on my list, and there's no Neil Diamond on my list either. 1226, Supertramp, Dreamer. Supertramp got me through some tough times when I was a teenager, so nothing but respect for Supertramp. Their music just, being a lonely loser type teenager, Supertramp's music kind of spoke to me at times. Plus, if I was going out for a walk around the block, or just going for an aimless walk, I would put on Supertramp's greatest hits on my Walkman and just go. And Dreamer is one of their really good songs. So don't be surprised when you see a lot more songs from Supertramp on this list. 1225, Avril Lavigne's What the Hell. Not one of my favorites from Avril necessarily, but is it catchy? Sure. Is it a fun song? Yep. And Avril Lavigne, Canadian content there as well. It is interesting to see how many Canadian artists are on my list here, and how often I can just say, hey, here's more Canadian content. It is a rule in Canada that a certain amount of music played on the air has to be Canadian. And there was a time where finding enough good Canadian content, it felt like could be a bit of a chore. I don't think we have that problem anymore. 1224 is Ghost, Satanized. So a very recent song from Ghost off their newest album. I do think with Ghost that their new album is okay. I hope that future albums they get more back to where they were with Prequel and all that. But Satanized is still it's an entertaining song with a very entertaining video. Number 1223, Alan Parsons Project Stereotomy, a video with no or a song with no video. Alan Parsons Project, listened to them a lot when I was a teenager too. And I mean, Alan Parsons was from Pink Floyd, right? So leaves Pink Floyd and does his own thing. Then if you like Floyd, I think you should like Alan Parsons as well, because there's enough crossover in the style of music. There are some instrumental songs from Alan Parsons that are really catchy, really neat. He can do a lot of fun stuff with music. So Stereotomy is one of his, I would say, closer to rock songs. I don't know how much I would qualify Alan Parsons as rock, though. It's more just experimental, odd pop music at times. All right, 1222, Foreigner, Heart Turns to Stone. This one, I don't know that there was ever a video for it. I don't know that there was. Foreigner's best videos, I think, were in the mid 80s, and then after that it just wasn't quite necessarily as much. I think this is I want to say it's the second Foreigner song I've talked about in this video, isn't it? Isn't it? I swear, no, it's the first of two. It's the first of two. I'm getting ahead of myself. I knew I wrote Foreigner twice when I made this up last night. 1221, Destiny's Child, Survivor. Catchy? Yep. Good video? Yep. Beyonce before she was a megastar? Not really. She was actually kind of a megastar in Destiny's Child. The thing was that I was more of a fan of Kelly Rowland than I was Beyonce at the time. Kelly Rowland did not end up being as big a star as Beyonce, but yeah, I liked Kelly Rowland better. 1220, Madonna, Music. Music was the first song from an album that was actually pretty fun, and it was at a time where Madonna wasn't necessarily something I was listening to nearly as much as I had, say, in the 80s. But Music is a really neat song. Right from the opening hook right through to the end, it is a real neat one. 1219, Pussycat Dolls, Buttons. So we're into a list here now. Destiny's Child, Madonna, Pussycat Dolls, and I'm wearing a Slipknot shirt, so we can take a moment to appreciate that. But yeah, Buttons is very catchy. It is while the subject matter is tawdry, I guess. Although, loosen up my buttons. I mean, you don't really loosen you don't loosen a button. I mean, if you loosen it, it'll just fall off, and then you're just ruining your garments. So, is it a song about ruining your garments? No. But Pussycat Dolls, this was of course at their peak. Snoop Dogg was in the video for it as well, which didn't hurt the song's ability to get played on the radio or on video channels. 1218, Bruce Cockburn, probably one of the ultimate Canadian artists. Lovers in a Dangerous Time. I would put Bruce Cockburn up there with like Neil Young, Joni Mitchell as like all time. These are just very, very Canadian. Anne Murray, very, very Canadian. Lovers in a Dangerous Time, of course, was then covered by Bare Naked Ladies. I did not opt to put that on this list. I do prefer Bruce Cockburn's version a little bit, and so his qualifies. Bare Naked Ladies does not. Also a Canadian group. 1217, Falco, Vienna Calling. Rock Band Amadeus ends up being higher on this countdown. But at the time, I had Falco's album with Rock Me Amadeus, which it had 3 different versions of Rock Me Amadeus on it. The original, the extended radio version, and the Salieri mix, which is like 8.5 minutes of bonkers craziness. But in the middle of that album was Vienna Calling, which is a very, very good song. Great little beat to it, good hook. Falco, it's a shame that he wasn't a bigger star in North America for longer than he was. Because honestly, that album was great from start to finish. That whole Falco album was just amazing. Number 1216, Finger Eleven's back. Drag You Down. So they may not play Stay and Drown, but they do play Drag You Down in their set list, their recent set lists anyways. Drag You Down, I think, was their first single as Finger 11, and makes total sense that they would be performing that on tour now. But really good band. I can't wait to see them live. I think that's going to be a great experience. At 12:15 is George Michael, Freedom 90. So this song had to have 90 attached because, of course, Freedom was a song by Wham, which is not on the list. But Freedom 90, while it's overplayed, it is still overplayed. Still. It gets played a lot. But the video's really catchy. The song's really great. And it really was George Michael's song about exactly what the title says, about his freedom. Burning the jacket from Faith in the video, it's a choice. There's some very over the head, hitting you over the head kind of symbolism in that video. 12:14, Glass Tiger, Someday. You know, this song reminds me of my grandmother. My grandmother would basically usually be in the kitchen while I was watching Video Hits, which was the CBC show every day at 5 o'clock where they would play music videos. And Glass Tiger was a band my grandmother liked. I remember her liking Glass Tiger, and I thought that was odd because most of the modern music that I listened to, she wasn't a big fan of, but she liked Glass Tiger, and she liked Someday. She would hum to that. So that definitely is one of the reasons it's on the list. And she had good taste. Glass Tiger had some really fun songs that you could have a rock or metal band cover now that they could do a really good version of. 1212, Sweatshop Union, The Truth We Speak. Truth We Speak is a very unique experience. And Sweatshop Union, Canadian as well. Rap, hip hop, rock. There's kind of a little bit of everything in this. And it's a neat song. For lack of a better way of putting it, it's a neat song. And Sweatshop Union, eventually I did get a CD of theirs. Not the one with Truth We Speak on it, but I do have one of their CDs. I found them to be very, very intelligent, and their raps were well put together. Their music was well constructed. And so I did like to throw on their music every now and then when I wanted to listen to something different. And that definitely qualified as different. Between that and Cypress Hill, if I wanted something different. Number 1211, Howard Jones, What Is Love? A song that, man, how many songs in the 80s were about love that wasn't quite working out? There's a lot of them. Not as if there's not a lot of them now either. I do listen to enough of the current pop music to know it's still a very common theme. But yeah, Howard Jones, What Is Love? Good song. And Howard Jones was kind of in that Thomas Dolby area of smart pop music in the 80s. Interestingly enough, I mentioned Thomas Dolby. None of his songs ended up making it onto the list. I know. And if somebody's going to say, well, didn't he just have one hit? No, he did not. He had more than one hit. 1210, Foreigner, Head Games. So Foreigner's back. This is that second song I was looking for earlier. Head Games. Head Games is basically about a woman who's playing head games, and the guy she's involved with not being happy about it. The guy she's involved with apparently being Lou Gramm. Lou Gramm sang a lot about unrequited love, both in Foreigner and then on his solo albums as well, and spoke to me a lot. I mean, hey, of course it did. I got married when I was 44, so My first time actually walking down the aisle and getting, and even that, it was outside. It was Oceanside, so it wasn't even in a church. But yeah, so Foreigner number 1210. 1209, a song that almost didn't fit on the board. I Don't Want to Go On With You Like That by Elton John. I really wish there was a way to shorten that down. There isn't. But yeah, Elton John had some good songs in the mid 80s. I Don't Want to Go On With You Like That. I always thought was underrated. Not a lot of Elton John songs make the list, like Rocket Man, not on the list. But this one absolutely is. So I think part of that is that I wasn't old enough to have listened to Rocket Man on the radio. However, there are a lot of 60s and 70s songs that I have picked for this list. So we'll never know what might have happened if I'd been born 10 years earlier. Number 1208, John Mellencamp, Hurts So Good. Before he was John Mellencamp, he was John Cougar. He eventually became John Cougar Mellencamp, which was then simplified to John Mellencamp, his name. And Hurts So Good is one of those catchy songs. Not one of my wife's favorite artists. I think it's because some of his music gets kind of close to country, and it's in that rock area where she's not a big fan of it. But I can always appreciate a good John Mellencamp song, so don't be surprised when he shows up on the list a few more times. Number 1207, Chicago, Look Away. Oh, the song that spoke to me so much. Yeah, there's a lot of unrequited love on this list. I'll have to go through the list at some point in time and do like a count of unrequited love, various themes in music, and see just how often it shows up, because it shows up a lot. But Look Away is one of those slower songs on my list. Not a lot of love songs on the list. There won't be a lot of love songs either. Don't be surprised when they're not there. But Look Away is a good song. 1206, Corey Hart, Never Surrender. What was it I just said? Oh, yeah, the love songs. Corey Hart, I thought was like the coolest. I did. And again, Canadian artist. I thought Corey Hart was just the absolute coolest. I mean, it's not the Never Surrender video, but like Everything in My Heart, the live performance, they show parts of there. I was like, man, he just looks so badass. I wanted to look like him. I wanted to sound like him. And did I start wearing sunglasses in the house? I thought I had them up here. Oh, here they are. Well, actually, sup, nerds? Yeah, I did. I did start doing that. Not a lot, but there are times where I wear sunglasses in the house just so my wife will call me a dork, but I'm always thinking of sunglasses at night, which was his first hit, but Never Surrender is a fun one too. 1205, Culture Club, Church of the Poison Mind. I feel like this one's been lost to time, that everybody remembers Karma Chameleon. Thanks to Wedding Singer, we will never forget Do You Really Want to Hurt Me? But Church of the Poison Mind's got a great tune to it. It sounds very different. The backup singer in it as well, she's got a very distinct voice. And the video is kind of bonkers. So, yeah, Culture Club had a bunch of good songs. It's a shame that people just remember like a couple of the biggest hits. It's one of the things that drives me nuts with time is that almost every artist gets whittled down to like a couple of songs people talk about. And it's like, well, no. That's part of the reason why I'm doing such an extensive playlist here, too. Counting down so many songs. 1204, Rod Stewart, Forever Young. My mother's favorite song of the late 80s, could still be my mother's favorite song. Her crush on Rod Stewart was well documented at the time. But yes, Forever Young, a song she sang a lot, and she played a lot, and yet it's still on my chart. It's still there. I still feel like it qualifies to be in there. And it's one of those uplifting feel-good songs. So because I had to have the uplifting feel-good songs to play in between all the songs describing how lonely my life was. So you got to have that counterbalance, or else you just think about how lonely you are all the time. So Forever Young was a good distraction from that, at least for 3.5 minutes. 1203, The Bangles, Hero Takes a Fall. The Bangles are a tale of a band that could have been something very different. And I think if you look back at their very early stuff, before Walk Like an Egyptian, before that era and everything changed, Hero Takes a Fall is a very different sounding rock song. not as pop as they'd become later, and just very catchy. I remember the first time I heard it, I was like, I love this band. These girls are great. I had initially thought that they were British because they had the song Going Down to Liverpool, and I initially thought maybe they were British. But yeah, they blew me away with Hero Takes a Fall, a song which barely cracked the top 10, and then of course they become bigger stars later on, but that song's definitely worth a listen. 12:02 as we get close to finishing this part of the countdown. Giant, I Can't Get Close Enough. Giant's Last of the Runaways, an album I knew from start to finish. I Can't Get Close Enough is a song that I really enjoyed from that album. Dan Huff, lead singer of Giant, did a lot of work on other albums as well. So, because I kept seeing his name in other albums. So either there was somebody else in the music industry in the late 80s named Dan Huff, or the lead singer of Giant also worked with other artists. And considering those were artists I also listened to, there's a good chance that it's the same Dan Huff. But yeah, Giant, Last of the Runaways is a fantastic album if you're able to find it. And if you look it up on Spotify, 99.9% sure that it's there. They only had a couple of videos off that album. As far as I remember, well, no, there might have been three. Although one of the three was a song I didn't really like, which threw me off. Where I was like, really, they released the one song I really didn't like. Is that Innocent Days? These are the innocent. I think it's Innocent Days is the one they released as a single. Where I was like, why? It's. I didn't think it was a great song at all. That was my least favorite song on the album. You will not see it on this list. Number 1201, wrapping things up in this portion of the countdown, Justin Timberlake. Yeah, I didn't see that coming either. Sexy Back. Because what an amazing beat. Really fun song. And, I mean, JT had some good songs. He did. It's reality. One thing with the countdown, when we're in this portion, a lot of it is pop music. A lot of it's older pop music as well. So if you're wondering where all the metal is, all the metal's in the top 1,000 for the most part. I do enjoy pop music, though, as you can see. I do enjoy music you can dance to, and songs about heartbreak, because those were... But I didn't like it if they were love songs about heartbreak, necessarily. So... Sometimes they're just angry songs. But anyways, there you go. Thank you guys so much for all your support. Hit like and subscribe if you haven't done so far. The view counts on this are always going to be low. I'm aware of this. It's not a concern to me. Once I've got the whole list done and we've got all 1,450 on the channel, maybe it does better after that. If not, that's okay too. But thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.